Hello YouTube. Sorry it's been so long since the last update, but we're going to get out here and see if we can't get a quick update before the rains start coming down again. This is going to be a very quick update of the Back to Eden garden, which we transitioned from a plain old dirt garden from last year. The only row that does not have wood chips on it are the onions right down through here. When you get down to the squash down at the end, we put wood chips down on there. But everything else, and let me tell you, I really like the fact we came out here the other day and both sides of this row of the peppers, I mean, it was real bad down this side here, and this other side not quite as bad, but pretty bad. Had nut grass growing in it, and if you don't have nut grass in your garden, God bless you, is all I can say. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. But so we went through there and picked out a good bit of it, and we came back and we just dumped wood chips all on top of it. We put probably another 8 inches on it. I mean, you can dig down and again, these wood chips been sitting here for, I'd say maybe 4 months, maybe. And yes, we grew in the dirt last year. There's the actual dirt from the actual garden. So it's breaking down a lot quicker than I actually thought it would be. Let's show you what you get when you throw some wood chips on your garden. We got kind of lucky with the onions this year. This first year we've ever planted onions and got anything anywhere close to that big. We've had a couple of them start to go to seed. I've never had onion greens this big, or the leaves this big. I've counted a couple of them, and for the most part, the closest to the perfect onion we had, which is 13 leaves, we had 11 on one of them. When we planted the squash, you can tell the wood chips are down here. We just put compost on top of the ground, put the wood chips right on top of it, put the drip irrigation down on top of that, and just let it go. I've actually dug down in the wood chips, planted the squash seeds. And let's see, I've never, since I've been growing squash here in East Texas, ever had that many squash on one plant. And I believe we've actually watered the garden. We planted everything that you see here. The squash have all been planted. I think they got planted on April the 2nd. Zucchinis and tomatoes and peppers all got planted on April the 2nd also. So in a month and a half, they've gotten this big and just loaded with squash. Matter of fact, one of these, tonight, the first squash of the season is getting picked. And there's a abundance of squash, it appears like. There's another one. A lot of little babies coming up. The peppers are, so far, I'm thinking we just haven't had enough heat. Just hadn't got hot enough yet. They are producing, they are blooming, and I pulled the blooms off of a couple of them a couple of times already to try to get them a little bit bigger. Tomato plants were all planted from starters that I planted back in, I believe, February. Got some Romas at first. I think the first 3 or 4 Romas. And in all honesty, they're not very tall. I have not come in here and taken the suckers off or anything like that. I've just basically tried to stand them up in the cage. Most all of them have tomatoes on them, but I will say, look at the size of the stalk there. I mean, all this is brand new with the wood chips and composting and everything. Zucchini plants, big huge leaves. These are planted from seed on April the 2nd. I'm not sure when. This is a patty pan squash. I want to say it was planted about 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. Just dig down into the wood chips to where you get into some dirt, because I mean, If you get into something like this right here, that seed's not going to germinate very well. It may germinate, and it may actually push through, but it'll take a little bit longer. So we had to pull all the wood chips back to actually get to some dirt. Planted the seeds into the dirt, and once they come up, which I should have already done this, we'll rake the wood chips back around the plants. And that's it. They take off and they grow like crazy. And again, I've got the drip irrigation set up because I had to use it a lot last year. But not this year, not so far. Got peas coming up. We planted these about, I don't know, 3 weeks after we planted this set of peas. Get up in here, the tunnel of peas. So there's about 2 to 3 weeks between this set of peas and the peas that are coming up. And on this tunnel, we got butter beans. And I have not planted anything down where you see all the wood chips yet. So this year I decided to build arches and grow everything up. So far, butter beans, they're climbing. The peas are starting to climb, but the butter beans are just amazing. I mean, this butter bean was planted 3 weeks ago, I think, and it's already probably 3-4 foot tall. I noticed, because we didn't have any wood chips in this section, or this one, or this one. When it rained last time, we had wood chips here. They were about 8 inches deep at the time. The rain came straight down across the top of the garden and hit the wood chips and went straight down and pretty much washed all the peas and butter beans out. So this is the second replanting of the peas and butter beans. But we're hoping that it's going to grow up the arches. We got some other things we're going to plant down at the other end. We'll see what happens. Maybe we won't have to bend over so much. Got the cucumbers coming up really good. These first two were planted from seed starts. This third one here that's smaller than the other two, that's two that were planted straight from seed. And all of these were put in the ground on April the 2nd. I'm not sure the camera can catch it, but there's little bitty cucumbers everywhere down in there. Little yellow blooms everywhere. But so far, so good. Again, if you don't want to weed, just go in there and pick your weeds out like these right here. What we did basically just pick them up, throw them down, and then came back, dumped wood chips right on top of them. Give them another 2 or 3 loads of wood chips on top of that row there. The weeds will come back, but it'll take them a long time to do it. And by the time they push up through all them wood chips and everything, you can reach down and just pick them up and they'll slide right out. And again, with the nut grass, it has all the little nuts hanging on it, so far so good. I've seen several videos of people saying, don't use this, don't use cedar, don't use pine or something else, hickory. Those wood chip piles down at the end of the garden, I don't have a clue what's in there. So it don't matter. If it's in that pile, it goes in the garden. Now some of it's got some bigger sticks and stuff that not real liking that, but you know, hey, it'll break down eventually. I think there's a log out there somewhere. So far, with it back to Eden, this is probably one of the best transitions I've ever done. Until next time, thank y'all for watching.